Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Gruber Wired. I'm Mark Beach.
I'm John Dotson, and welcome once again.
Welcome. Wow.
What a week, huh?
Lots of stuff going on,
Yeah,
huh?
it's been great.
It has been great.
Yeah. I got to tell you, we're coming
Business
in.
is booming.
Business is just going nuts lately. I don't know what's going on out there, but keep building.
Yes, exactly.
Keep that infrastructure going.
Yep. And before we get started, too, we just wanted to offer our condolences, for the tragedy in D.C.
Yeah, Reagan International Airport.
Yeah, that was just, wow.
Very unfortunate.
Definitely. And, I heard there was a figure skating squad on there.
Yeah.
Like 16 different people affiliated with figure skating, 2 Russian champions.
Yeah.
A gold medalist. So,
like, whoa.
Yeah.
And don't forget about our military service, folks that
3 guys
passed away
in the Black Hawk. So, Yep, our condolences go out on that. We did want to share a little bit. Jesse, if you could bring up that picture real quick. So we celebrated Lunar New Year yesterday with our production staff, right? And we have a great team of Vietnamese people who work in our cable assembly house. They do all our custom work, standard cables, all that kind of stuff. And this is the great team. And on Lunar New Year every year, they dress up. Like, John, you got a nice little thing going on there. Yeah, there he is.
This was a lot of fun. And, what's really fun about this is just the deep sense of pride, in the Lunar New Year and in its culture.
Yep.
Sometimes we lose sight of it, being around every day, doing our everyday thing.
Right.
That there's these different cultures around us that are just really, some of them have some really nice, gorgeous benefits to them and just tendencies there.
And this great group contributes so much to the Gruber experience, and we just want to celebrate their holiday with them.
Yeah.
And for those of you who see that wet stuff that's on the ground there,
there we go.
We broke 159 dry days. We 1 day short of the record.
How much rain did we get? Officially?
1/100th of an inch at the airport.
1/100th of an inch.
That's just enough to qualify.
Enough to wet the ground right there, as you can see.
There you go. Well, we got more up this way, but at the airport, which is the official recording station, that's where we had.
There's another record in that picture in there.
What's that?
Pete in a tie.
Oh yeah, look at that.
When do you think do you think he wore a tie the last time it rained here in Arizona?
I don't believe so.
What are the odds?
Yeah. We'll have to do some research on that and find out.
Yeah, he came into the office. I asked him if he was feeling okay.
He came by and I looked at him and said, "Hello, Mr. Rogers." He's got
the sweater
on and everything.
There you go.
No, we had a great day yesterday.
Yes.
Ringing in the new year there and just having a great time. We had some food, had some cake.
Yes.
Played some music.
Played some music loudly. Yes. But so we just wanted to give a shout out. I know last year we had Lee on because it fell on our podcast.
It fell on the podcast day.
Yeah. So we had her on last year. If you want to look that up, it's in our podcast archive or file, and see our production manager. And classy lady, and was a lot of fun. We talked a little bit in depth about that last year. If you have any comments while we're going live here, go ahead and type them in. We'll try and answer your questions, and make sure and subscribe, and share this podcast.
Yeah, coming up. I mean, before we get into the meat and potatoes also, and I'm sure we'll talk about this some more, but we are going to offer and kind of put on a Gruber talent show.
So I
just want to tease this a little bit to those watching out there. We're going to find that hidden talent between our employees and put together some video clips and have some fun with it. Right.
So we're just waiting for more people to sign up, but we're going to do a dedicated series of shows on talent at Gruber, and then you can vote.
Yeah, give you the opportunity to vote there. Yep. Speaking of hidden talents, we'll start with Aaron. Aaron, do you have a hidden talent back there we're unaware of?
Yeah.
How many Girl Scout cookies I can eat in one sitting? That seems to be my new thing right now.
It's a dangerous time of year, let me tell you.
Yeah, Cass, we know you have talent, right?
I do. My camera's not working.
Oh no!
But
no.
I am a hula dancer.
Really?
Yeah, I've been a hula dancer since I was 7.
See, we learned something new. Wow.
Well,
who'da
there we
thought?
go. Are you signing up?
I can.
You should sign up for the show. It'd be fun.
I won a beauty contest for hula dancing.
Did you
There you
really?
go.
I
Right
did,
on.
yeah.
All right.
Look at that.
Well, Aaron's snickering back there.
There we go.
I
There's
hear-
a camera.
Just punch him, Cass. Just punch him.
Oh no, my camera.
It's
And Jesse, what's your talent?
I work.
he works.
I work
He's
a
the
lot.
straight man in the comedy routine, right? He's the.
I know.
He's the.
I know.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
don't say hi to me. Don't ask how I'm doing.
Yeah. How you doing, Jesse?
How you doing? Yeah. That's what we
Wow.
got there.
Yeah. So, gosh, starting off with our topic today. This is kind of a fun
So
one.
yeah, we talked about AI last week, right?
Yeah.
You know, and the new Project Stargate and all that kind of stuff. And lo and behold, this week we see a little action by a company known as DeepSeek.
DeepSeek.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
What
kind
do
of
we think
what's
about
going
that?
on with that, you know? And Jesse kind of tipped us off. Jesse, you want to tell us what took place earlier with Nancy Pelosi? It kind of said, "Whoa, what's going on here?"
Yeah, it was. So nobody really knew about DeepSeek, at least in the general public, that it was going to come out and kind of rock the stock market the way that it did. But Nancy Pelosi sold a very large chunk of Nvidia stock, and Nvidia happened to, on Monday, have the largest stock slide in history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, a little
Not saying,
coincidental,
but-
if you ask me.
She just happened
Yeah.
to get lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, very lucky
gets
on that
lucky a
one.
lot. I'll just say that.
Was she teamed up with Martha Stewart at the time?
Right.
You
No,
know?
I don't know. Well, you know, Biden can't keep all the money for himself, so he had to tip her off, I guess, right?
I don't know, but it is kind of strange that that's just a coincidence in that. But yeah, DeepSeek, they kind of just splattered onto the scene, right?
Right.
I mean, just boom, here we are. And off everything went kaboom, time
Right.
out. What's going on?
Well, now, so honestly, before I read anything about it, just knowing about it, that it was a Chinese company, the first thing that went into my head was, we just got done with all this stuff about TikTok being owned by China,
Yeah.
right? And so we're going to pour in an AI model, right?
Sure.
From China, right?
Yeah.
I mean, something didn't add
That
up.
didn't, yeah, that doesn't click.
No.
No, it doesn't make sense. And what we're finding out is DeepSeek is just not what it appeared to be from the outside.
No.
Correct. And everything that they're doing, they're collecting all sorts of data from people.
Right.
The more I read into this stuff, it's just wow.
Yeah, it's
You
pretty
know.
remarkable. Yeah, the
All conversations, all questions you send DeepSeek, along with the answers that it generates, are being sent to China or can be sent to China. So, I mean, it's collectively collecting everything that's going on and reporting back to China.
right.
Now, who in China? I don't know. Could be a private independent company, but we know from history and past, it's more than likely a government agency of some
right.
sort.
And unlike TikTok, all the servers are in China.
Yeah.
So whether you load DeepSeek on your phone or wherever, all the data is going to China.
Yeah.
Now that's not all.
No.
No.
That's just like the tip of the
That's
iceberg here, right? I
right.
mean, and they just had a major malicious malware too.
They
that
did.
went
They
through.
they stopped new signups for a little bit because of a hack.
Yeah.
A pretty significant hack. And you know, they also censor their responses.
Oh, they do, especially if you ask it anything about China.
Taiwan,
Yeah.
China, Hong Kong. There's actually a list out there of all of the censored content, so censored prompts
Yeah.
that it will throttle
Well,
the
I'm
response
just
on.
curious why the stock market had the reaction it did to this, you know? And I think at first it was a shock and awe type of scenario.
Yeah.
And the more we look at this, the more we're going, okay, time out. This isn't really what it seemed to be on the onset.
Well, I don't think it was rational panic at all. I think it was just everybody took what was going on at face value and didn't dig deeper, which we have a problem in this country sometimes with doing that little knee-jerk reaction stuff instead of instead of maybe we should think about this before we
let's take a look at it.
Yeah.
You know, and I was talking to you about this the other day about how these reactions take place, and just an example, for instance, was the COVID vaccine.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of people out there saying, "Oh, it's got chips in it. It's got this. It's got that." We really don't know. And to put it into essence here, we didn't really know what this was about. People went out and bought into it. Oh, let me get the app. Let me put it on my phone. Let me start, playing with this stuff. But we didn't know deep inside what's there.
Right.
And that's one thing and a fault that we have. For instance, Jesse, what drink do you have over there on the table?
Liquid Death.
Liquid Death. Could you, off the top of your head, without reading the can, tell me what ingredients are in that?
Yeah. Well, this one is a bad example because it's just water. It's sparkling water.
It's just water.
If I had a can of Dr. Pepper over here, no, I would not be able to.
H2O.
Yeah, and that's my point is we'll be glad to drink a Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper, anything, and not think twice about it, right?
Right.
And not consider the ingredients that are in there. We get something like DeepSeek that comes along. Oh, grab my phone. Let me get the app. We're not thinking the same thing. We're consuming it as we would a beverage or anything else.
Not as soon as Robert F. Kennedy's confirmed as HHS secretary, then we're going to know what's in everything.
Yeah, right. We hope so. But I guess the thing is we like to jump before we really take a deep look at things and see where the bottom is. Right. And especially when it comes to apps, and it could be on any app. I mean, how many apps you have on your phone, and all the programming that goes into those? Right,
exactly. And the funny thing, so like with TikTok, everybody was jumping to, or not everybody, but a lot of people were jumping to Red Note.
Yeah.
Well, Red Note got shut down too at the same time TikTok did, because guess who owns that?
I'm on Red Note.
It was in China.
Yeah, I'm learning Mandarin because I'm on Red Note.
There you go. Well,
I love Red Note.
It's Chinese though.
Yeah.
It's ByteDance. It's the same
company owns it.
Right. So, sometimes the cure is worse than the illness.
Yeah. And my point is with all this technology and the way that AI is progressing and going, we don't stop as consumers to take a look at it. We just take it at face value.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
For both of you guys. Facebook and X were largely responsible, and this is just my opinion, but I believe that those two platforms were largely responsible for how viral this went, because everybody was sharing it. I'm a part of the AI community on both of those platforms, and I saw it just going like absolute wildfire.
Right.
I personally think that completely getting rid of fact-checking is part of the reason this was able to run as rampant as it did. I think that's a bad move. So
I'm with you on
curious
that
what
one.
You think.
It's very,
Whose facts? That's the whole point.
I understand your
facts?
Position, but someone is keeping an eye on it. Whether you like it or not, those fact checkers were taking a look at. Now, did they extend their fact checking maybe the wrong way or too far? Sure.
Is there a bias in it? I don't.
Good question.
I think, just kind of being an American and all, people are responsible. We have freedom, so people are responsible for how they react to things, and I don't think that whether it comes virally, which is our environment now, and we have to understand that sometimes we get information with a fire hose.
Sure.
It comes at us.
So I have a question for you along that thinking. If somebody has a second mortgage tied up in their stock with Nvidia and they see it tanking, wouldn't it still be a smart move, even though they're responsible? They're making the responsible decision to not let their money disappear. So it's not like they're actively contributing out of, just it's viral, let me go do this. There's perfectly valid reasons behind why people reacted the way that they did once it started the runaway.
Right.
The starting of the runaway, when people go out there and say, this AI tool only cost $5 million, it's 1/100th the cost of every state-of-the-art model, and it performs just as good, you need a fact checker for something like that.
To an extent,
but you can, I know on X, at least, I don't know if Facebook has this or not, but I know on X you can put notes on posts, on tweets, or on
community notes.
Yeah, you can put notes. So I know that that's kind of their version of fact checking, but I just don't know that I would correlate one with the other directly. I think people still bear responsibility, and it's just like any other market influence. The reason why people get, there's a law against insider trading, right? There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
And so the public always has to react to the market and what's happening and announcements as they come out. And they have to interpret that data as it happens.
But
So
I have to ask this question. When did common sense kind of get thrown out the window in some of this? I mean, come on. We've all heard that phrase, that's too good to be true.
Right.
That should send off a light bulb right there to say, time out. As a consumer, as someone who's going to look into this, let me stop and be diligent, look into it a little further, do a little more research on my own instead of just following the lemmings off the cliff.
Right. And, there are a lot of companies, or I'll say companies, but people who make money online scamming people. Too good to be true, right? So, I mean, there is just this expectation that people are responsible for their trades, their actions, and while this went viral, I just think the voices didn't step up quick enough. But some of our reference material comes from Wired, comes from TechCrunch, comes from Verge. Those guys are out there slamming this now.
Yeah.
So
they're taking it down pretty hard.
Yeah. And I just think if you own a stock and it's tanking, you can take one or two approaches. You can think that the tank is valid and you need to get out before it hits bottom, or you think there's no merit and you can ride it because it's coming back.
Yeah. And this will come back.
Two.
We know it's
Yeah.
going to come back. The correction will be made because now that all this has taken place. But in the meantime, a lot of people were hurt because of that financially.
Right. And if you have
It does happen.
If you have a small position, then it's easy to get in and out.
Yeah.
Right. Or out and back in. So you can kind of increase your but there's also cost averaging, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as something tanks, say you own 100 shares at $100 and it starts going down and it's at 65, you buy more and then your average is 80 to 50 instead of 100, right? So you can take advantage of that without losing out, and without having to sell.
Well, one of the questions I have too, we're talking AI here. So the question that I have is, and I asked you this the other day, is who vetted this before it was even released into the public forum or even the opportunity? I mean, Jesse, maybe who vetted this to say, hey, this is a great idea.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying about fact checking is there was no vetting. So this company DeepSeek released their research paper. A bunch of these massive AI influencers read the bullet points and started screaming at the top of their lungs that, and if every reputable person in the industry that you're following is reporting the same thing, then you have every right to believe it or every reason rather to believe it and to start making trades and start adjusting accordingly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's just crazy the way this went. So, then the next question I have for you then, ChatGPT, OpenAI, who's vetting those? Is it the same principle across the board?
So the research papers get released by these AI tools all the time, and that's another part of why the argument that you were saying before of
kind of common sense.
Yeah, the common sense thing, but it's like the too good to be true thing.
Yeah, exactly.
That we see such significant jumps every release between releases that it's actually reasonable to believe that this was real. If you've been following AI closely and you're super into it and you see how significant some of these leaps are, yes, this one was unbelievably dramatic, like crazy, but we're in the age of AI now and these things are happening more and more quickly. So it's not completely inconceivable to be like, okay, somebody's got something here, let me jump on it.
So instead of checking it out first and doing our due diligence, we're just hopping aboard that train as fast as it's going.
Well, if the first person that shows it to you is an influencer that's a known AI news influencer, and they have 1 million followers and they tweet 500 times a day,
you trust them.
Yeah, then that's your source to go from.
Yeah.
So I think there was an article on Wired that says that the less people know about AI, the more they like it. And you might assume that tech savvy people are the most open to using AI, but research suggests it's actually those who are least familiar with it.
Right?
Yeah.
It's true. Hey, look, Highlander's back.
Oh, hey.
How you doing, Highlander?
He feels hoodwinked.
Says he feels hoodwinked. I think a lot of people feel hoodwinked over this one.
Yeah. Well, look, if like you were saying, if it's too good to be true, it is. And you know, there's nothing behind the curtain of that. I mean, I was reading somewhere in here, I couldn't find it, but that they don't even have like any contact info, no press info, no nothing. Yeah, they have no. They're not even established enough to be able to have all their stuff together. It almost feels like a play to destabilize this particular sector. To what end, we don't know. Are they trying to? Were they trying to influence the market? Were they trying to, destabilize so Nvidia went down so that people could take a position in it that wouldn't have an opportunity?
Yeah.
Right. What?
I have one more thing for you guys to consider. On this tool, you guys are sure that I'm sure you know there's restrictions on what we send to China in terms of chips.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. They can't get the Nvidia chips that power a lot of AI data centers.
Right.
So a more realistic, I think, and plausible scenario is that the research paper intentionally omitted that they're using Nvidia chips because that would notify that they illegally obtained Nvidia chips, right? So they purposefully didn't include their actual architecture and infrastructure in this research paper, and people just ran with it.
Right.
Well, so they most likely found some way to get some tech that they shouldn't have, so it's not actually as cheap as they're touting it to be.
It could be, or it's stolen technology as well. I mean, I wouldn't put that past them either.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah.
Well, usually, when you see tech coming, just kind of like what's going on with AI right now, there's a long lead in, and there's a lot of publicity surrounding the lead in to gain adoption, right? This was just kind of a burst on the scene deal.
Well, we say that, but look at our last podcast. What were we talking about? Stargate was just announced.
Right.
So here you have the largest collaboration of funds, boom, billions going into AI data centers.
Right.
And then a week later, this hits.
Right.
I mean, that could just simply be coincidence too. But there's correlation going on here all across the board in regards to AI and the advancement, that it's taking.
Right. I mean, if you're China and you don't want the U.S. investing all that money, you claim to make a model that only cost you $8 million or whatever the number is, and put a cool or have a chilling effect on the project you're just starting out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I mean, it's one thing you're just talking about there that you bring up, and whatever you want to call it, I call it more like a financial war, right? Yeah. This financial war has been going around the world for quite some time. I mean, you take a look at the finances and what's going on out there from country to country, and where these target, I call it like a targeted financial attack in this case,
right?
And see the shift of monies and where it goes. I mean,
I think it really could have been an attempt to influence the whole U.S. government's significant investment in this, because China can't match it.
Yeah,
kind of like during the Cold War, what busted Russia or the Soviet Union eventually was just the sheer amount of money that the United States could put into the military year after year after year. Russia was struggling to feed its people.
Yeah.
Let alone they couldn't. They seriously
bankrupted them.
Right. Exactly. They just couldn't keep up anymore. And I think China's kind of in the same boat, right? U.S. throwing in $500 billion, $500 billion into data centers to do AI.
Yeah.
They how could they keep up?
And then apparently, I mean, we might keep good on our tariffs coming here in a couple days.
Yeah,
and
that
raise
too.
the tariff cost to China by 25%, I believe.
Right, choke off their market, in the United States, and or severely limit it, and then they have less dollars, right? Fewer dollars. So I don't know. I mean, all it is guesswork, but when you see something like this happen and it comes out of the blue, and it causes such panic and disruption that seems way out of proportion.
It does seem
for what it is.
Yeah.
And then you start reading the articles, and I would encourage people to look up articles on Verge and TechCrunch and Wired. They're slamming it hard, and they've got some receipts. So I think it's well worth the deep dive.
I do think
if it interests you.
Yeah, you should take a look at it. And because why? This education will be important to understand for future. This is just the first of, I'm sure, many to come.
Right.
I mean, we're still at the beginning processes of AI, but the technology is speeding so fast down that road.
Right.
We're not going to catch all this.
Well, I mean, look, China is a known bad actor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's why you can't buy a Huawei phone here in the United States, because they install in every phone a surveillance chip.
Sure.
Right. So it doesn't even need to be, an app that they can manipulate. It's embedded in the phone. They can grab the data directly from the board. Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you have to understand that, look at the players, understand what they could possibly have to gain by it. And there you go.
So, Jesse, back to the fact checking. What's your solution on something like this? What would you do in regards to the fact checking if there is none out there anymore at the premise, at this time?
I would find a way to implement AI fact checking, because there's no way to properly parse through a document that's that big, and then also there's no way that the people that were making these decisions and selling their giant positions in stock, they didn't go read every article that came out all the way through.
Yeah.
They saw headlines and they told their friends, and they did their. So I would have an AI system in place that reads the research paper, reads all of the articles that are coming out about it, cross-references the headlines with the actual research paper, double checks the references and the sources of the research paper to make sure they're actually valid. I mean, I would implement something very robust like that doesn't have human influence whatsoever.
So would you do it on a mass scale, or would you do it more like a personal app where I have a choice to go put this, into play myself personally? So I wouldn't have somebody else fact checking it. Basically, I would do it myself.
I would have every news organization have it. I would have The Verge have their own. I would have TechCrunch have their own, and make sure that they're not biased. We have to have some kind of regulatory system for that, but we have to find a way to not just allow fake information to dictate and control the markets.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's a fine line, because if you watch NFL, the Sunday Football, right?
Yeah.
When they do their picks, right?
Yeah.
The experts aren't always right.
No,
right?
Not.
And they never agree. So people, we have to protect our freedom of speech, because there are variables, and at the same time be sensitive to what true facts might be.
Yeah,
I mean, there are things that, one thing that just annoyed the heck out of me, I think the phrase came out like maybe 10 years ago now, but people would say, no, that's my truth.
No,
I'm like, my truth? When did the truth become yours? Right? Truth is truth, period, end.
Yeah. It's
not, your truth. It might be your opinion, but it's not your truth. Truth is neither, doesn't have a side.
Yeah.
Right? And it takes us a while to get there sometimes, if we ever get there at all. But your truth seems
is different from my truth.
Seems to just, it connotes that you can have a different truth than me. Right?
Mm-hmm.
truth is truth.
And I think Jesse's right on point when he says that there needs to be this type of fact check system that's in place in these places. Because you know why? Not only we have the freedom of speech, we should have the freedom of knowledge too. And as a consumer, if you're going to educate me on that knowledge, I want to know that it's, bias free.
Right.
I want to know that it is straight and narrow.
Right. We know from studies that have been done out there that, especially, over the last 10 years, Google has bias in its search results and what it displays, right? So, if AI can avoid that trap and come and not have that bias when the results are shown,
sure,
then I think it's a big step. But you've got to build adoption. People aren't going to accept it face value and say, oh, okay, because we've been through the whole Google thing and all of the propaganda, the tilt that Google displayed, over a long time to influence things. So we just have to understand that fair or unfair, AI is going to have to overcome a hurdle that was created by another company.
At the end of the day, we have to understand it also has to come back to your personal responsibility to accept that knowledge in a way for your own personal gain.
Right.
Well, it's really easy to fix that. Just make the AI open source so everybody can see how it operates and whether there's bias or not. That's very, very
clear
simple.
Transparency
fix.
Across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Which wouldn't be readable by the average person, so then you'd have to have people you trust look at it and say,
yeah, some of the coding I wouldn't understand. I'm sure I wouldn't understand any of that.
All of it, right? Me either, though. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
But they could develop it in a way where it could be transparent. So hopefully that's the way that we take this approach with AI. Yep. Transparency, and that way we can go through and we can trust it.
I do like with AI that you can course correct it.
Yeah, that is nice.
So if you say if it starts feeding you propaganda, you can go, no, this is what I want to see, or
Correct.
this is where I'm going with it, and it can course correct, and you can do that through your prompts. So I do enjoy doing that to my little AI chat bot. when it starts leaning a little left, I just correct it right up.
And I will tell you what, get out there. If you haven't played around with AI, get on Chat GPT, OpenAI, some of those systems, and just play around. Ask it some questions, but do understand this. It will personalize itself to you and the way you're asking those questions and the way you're forming your response and working with AI. So you can tell it, hey, don't remember this conversation. Don't keep my interaction with you between us, or you can say, listen, I want you to perform this way when I'm working with you. And you can see it's amazing how it will conform to your type of personality.
Right.
And you can really take it in a lot of different directions, and it's got a lot of good, useful tools.
I agree. I think that the ability to course correct is a huge plus in my book, and one of the reasons why I do use it. I just don't take things at face value. If I look at it and go, yeah, no, and I give it some more prompts, and then get more the direction that I'm looking for.
Back to common sense, right? And common sense tells me I think we're about out of time.
We're about 5 minutes
a little bit over, so
that's all right.
Wow, yeah, we get talking, and sometimes these shows you can just roll on with it. But yeah, thank you once again.
Definitely, we appreciate you being here. And remember, we're here every Thursday at 3 p.m. Arizona time. Please like, subscribe, and share this podcast. For now, I'm Mark Beach.
I'm John Dotson.
Have a great day.
Thank you.